Alright, good evening and welcome. We're in Japan tonight for some HPR action. You're in the broadcasting lounge. I'm Shane. Alongside me tonight is Corey Kitchen. How are you, Corey?
Yeah, Shano, two nights this week we've teamed up to do the broadcast. And yeah, Suzuka, don't you love it? Apparently the fans don't. Not a big field in tonight, but it is one of the favourites around the place. And it's been reworked by iRacing to look even more beautiful these days.
Yeah, always been a very popular track. Unfortunately, not the greatest of turnouts tonight. Although a few more have rolled in just through the qualifying, just during the qualifying session as well. So, a couple more numbers than what we had at the start of qualifying, which is good to see. But yeah, just that three GTP cars that are out there at the moment in the qualifying session is we've been used to only seeing three or four of them on track this season, unfortunately. But it is what it is, and they've still given us some exciting racing. So here's what we've got in store tonight: Suzuka International Racing Course, sitting at 27 metres above sea level, and a 5.7 kilometre circuit there. And I've got the very much wrong information up at the top of that box. Let's take that away while I fix that.
Yep, well, nothing to see here, folks. But yeah, look at it. She's a windy circuit, this one, isn't it? And lots of fun.
Yeah, sure is a lot of fun. Um, host the Japanese Grand Prix, and we saw Liam Lawson go very well here last year in Formula One during his cameo there. And yeah, plenty of plenty of history in Formula One here. A few championships decided back in the 90s when it used to be the last round of the season. And we've
Yes.
still got a few minutes left in qualifying for this one, but looks like at the moment all the cars still in the pits, so not much going on track. And now that we've corrected the information, we can bring this back up, and we can see that it's MRP HPR Series round 6 at Suzuka, and that is the track layout there. 23 degrees air temperature. That doesn't tell us what our track temperature is, but not terribly warm out there, so hopefully plenty of grip in the track for the guys, and a little bit overcast, which will help things in that regard as well.
Yeah, well, that's at least it's not going to rain. I've heard from Cheryl there's zero chance of rain. So my trusty weather lady that gets in touch when there's bad weather on the way. Yeah, so no chance of rain tonight. And yeah, we are nearing the pointy end of this spring series, and so only a few more weeks to go. Shano, three, I think, is it three, four?
Yeah, might end up being four, I think, because we've actually got an extended season on the iRacing calendar this season. A 13th week thrown in the regular season to um, keep the seasons on schedule. Otherwise, you end up pushing out a week over a few years, an extra day coming through each year, obviously with 52 weeks in a day in the year. So if you don't account for that every few years, then your schedule can drift out as time goes by. So that's why iRacing do that every now and again. Pop a 13th week into the season for season 4 at the end of every few years. So not something I've actually been privileged to see before in my time on iRacing, and it caught me off guard a little bit when I saw all the official schedules coming out with 13 weeks on them.
Yeah, no, it's happened before for me. I don't really remember it, but I do remember seeing a week 14 once upon a time.
Yep, so what's normally week 13, the week in between where the new builds get released, and you have a lot of unofficial races where everything's able to get tested and they can pick up on any bugs before the season goes live. That's going to be week 14 this time around, because week 13 is still part of the official season. So still no cars on track as the checkered flag comes out. So that's going to wrap up qualifying. Stephen McCartan takes pole in GTP. No surprises there. Nico Cordia though, just point 0.7, well, nearly point 0.8 of a second behind Stefan, but we've seen that pole margin normally out over a second from Stefan, so good to see that Nico's been able to bring it a bit closer, and Andy Oden, point 0.1 of a second behind Nico Cordia there in third, and then we see Darren Lobb lining up on the GT3 pole. Leith Swinney in second, and then Aaron Goodrich, Blake Greenhill, Thomas McCall, Chris Zalewski, and Wayne Hartnell. Daniel Scholes not setting the time, and there's a few more that have dropped in late who also have not set times. Looks like Ben McMurray, Dan Turner, Paul Blomqvist, Matt McDonald, and Louis Robinson all not setting times, so those guys are going to be coming off the back tonight.
Oh, yeah, Nico's jumped in the old chat. 8 tenths only. Laugh out loud.
So it is the MRP HPR Series, and probably getting a bit used to seeing us bring you some MRP ads at this stage in the broadcast, and tonight's going to be no different. Take a look at one of their turnkey simulators, just an example of some of the products that they can offer.
Yeah.
So yeah, just an example there of MRP's turnkey rig as we've got cars rolling out in practice. So yeah, that's obviously a turnkey rig that MRP can put together for you, and even if you're in an accessible area to them, they'll come and put it together for you and get it all set up, which is very cool. And if you don't necessarily want all of that, you can buy any of those parts from MRP and get yourself set up. So very good to see. And for those established sim racers that are watching, you can even upgrade some of your gear if you see something there that you're like, well, actually I wouldn't mind upgrading to that. Hit up Barry at MRP and he'll get you sorted out. So we obviously had the V8s on Tuesday night with the finale of the MRX Enduro Cup, and MRX continuing as weekly sponsor into tonight as well. But we called it Corey. We did say provisional. We covered our bases by saying provisional at the time when we called Bruce Tannock as the champion. And just as well we did, because there's been a bit of an update on that. Bruce actually received a time penalty at the end of that race, and that pushed him back to third in the standings, and it actually left Peter Vandenberg and Luke Ullman tied on points at the top of the standings there. Bit of discussion went on during yesterday as to how the tiebreaker would be decided, and we decided to go the traditional route where it went to who had the highest finishing position, and that was Peter Vandenberg. So he has taken out the MRX Enduro Championship, and Luke Ullman finishes second, Bruce Tannock third.
Oh, good. And yeah, that race on Tuesday was absolute classic. It couldn't have been scripted, as I said, probably 3 or 4 times during the race, but you know, that could have gone anywhere at any time. So all it took was one of those drivers that were in the top 5 is fall out of it, and they were out. And yeah, it was definitely one of the most exciting races that I've called, Shana. And yeah, I'll definitely remember that one.
Yeah, absolutely, and absolutely drama-filled as well, and how appropriate for all the drama that we had that it only continued after the race, and we had that time penalty for Bruce that ended up pushing him back. I think it was actually a time penalty that was announced in the race and added to his time post-race, but obviously we weren't, we didn't have the comms in our ears to be able to get that update from race control, so we weren't aware of it at the time. It wasn't until Wednesday morning that you and I became aware of that, was it, Corey?
Yeah, and we were left in the dark on who it was too, uh,
Yes.
by by Mr. Flower himself. But I went and checked in the official thing there, and it said Peter Vanderberg and Luke Orman, and yeah, definitely, yeah, blew me away a little. And yeah, congratulations to Peter for taking it out too, and big congratulations to Luke Orman. You know, Div 1 rookie, he's just absolutely blown us away this season in Div 1. He's been up the pointy end most of it, so keep it up, fella.
Yeah, Luke doing an absolutely fantastic job showing his class after only recently moving up from Div 2, as a lot of the guys who have recently moved up from Div 2, as I talked about on Tuesday night, a lot of those guys are showing absolute class in Div 1, which is great to see. So nearly done with the warm-up, and we'll be getting into our gridding period shortly. Um, yeah, then these guys will be lining up behind the pace car and getting ready to go. Should be an exciting race. This place always throws up fantastic racing. That first sector through the S's is always very challenging, isn't it, Corey?
It is, yep. No, this track gives the shit sometimes. That chicane definitely is one of those ones that plays on the mind a lot. A lot of Porsches here tonight, Shana.
Yeah, a fair few Porsches in tonight. So Daniel Scholes, Paul Blomqvist, Wayne Hartnell, Ben McMurray, Dan Turner. Stephen McCartan's not on the GT3 version, but he is in a Porsche. Andy Uden and Nico Cordia also in the GTP Porsche. But yeah, a lot of Porsches.
Yep, we will see some Porsche flicks at some point tonight. Don't you worry about that. And maybe even a safety car.
Yep, there is the potential for that there. So we've got cars lining up down there on the dummy grid behind the pace truck. And we can even have a look at our grid. So Stefan McCartan taking the pole for GTP. Nico Cordia just behind, and then Andy Uden there in third. Darren Lobb taking pole for GT3 from Leith Swinney. Aaron Goodrick and Blake Greenhill on the second row. And then we roll back to Tom McCall, Chris Daluski, Wayne Hartnell, Paul Blomqvist, Daniel Scholes, Ben McMurray, ignore P11, Dan Turner lining up there in 12th. And then Louis Robinson and Matt McDonald off the back there. Corey Kitchen showing on the grid along with myself, but obviously we're sitting in the broadcasting lounge and won't actually be taking to the track tonight. So looks like 13 cars, well 13 GT3s on track plus the 3 GTPs, so 16 cars overall. Although Andy Uden has missed the grid.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's taken to the track, Shane.
No, so unfortunately we might be seeing only 2 GTPs tonight. We got the picture in picture. Corey's got the GT3 cars up on the inset there, while I'm looking at the GTP cars behind the pace truck here, and we will stick with that for the start of the race to make sure we've got both classes covered for the opening stages. Although there's not unfortunately going to be a lot to cover in the GTP class with only 2 cars out there now. Still waiting. Well, we'll wait and see if Andy Uden starts from the pit lane. Maybe he's just missed the start for whatever reason.
Well, I'm going to jump in car here. This is in car with Paul Bloomquist, so he's towards the back of the GT3, so we'll see what he does off the start. Well, it got really loud on the inside of Paul's car.
So Pace Truck peels in, and Stefan's going to get control. Side by side with Nico Cordia.
Darren Lobb starting out of pit lane as well.
Green, 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 green.
And they get the green flag, and they're away, and you can see the GT3 cars coming around in the background, and they're fanning out. Nico Cordia momentarily got the nose ahead of Stefan there, but Stefan just, with the inside line, able to sweep back in front into turn 1. Looks like Paul making moves early. Oh, that's a car firing off to the
Thomas
outside.
McCall.
Tom McCall having a disappointing start. So Andy, and it looks like, has not started the race from the pits, so I think he's probably decided to call it early, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe just not feeling it.
Yeah, it is a difficult track, and I know Nico said he was struggling a little bit with this car and track combination, so maybe Andy experiencing that a little bit as well and not really gelling with it, so deciding not to stick around for the race.
Yeah, well, maybe you had a friend turn over and say, hey, mate, let's have a beer.
Yeah, anything's possible, isn't it? So that GT3 field looks like it's settling down. Stephen McCartan still holding that lead over Nico Cordia, but Nico just keeping with him for now, half a second behind. And Blake Greenhill there in the property used BMW, just in a little bit of no man's land at the moment, just behind Paul Blomqvist, who has already moved up to P3, up 5 spots, and Chris Zalewski just behind him.
Yeah, that field just spreading out a little bit now. There's Wayne Hartnell, Ben McMurray in a battle.
Oh, big
Ooh.
moment there.
Lou Robinson that was, and I'm not sure what happened there. Ben McMurray still going.
Yeah, so Louis just rejoining at the final corner there, missing the rear bumper. Unfortunately, gone past the pit exit, and a big crab walk going on there on that Corvette.
McLaren,
Sorry,
is it?
McLaren. Yep, it's a McLaren. I'm used to seeing Louis in the Corvette, but he's not in the Corvette tonight. Yeah, big crab walk going on that McLaren, and yeah, he's got to do a whole lap to get back around to the pits, unfortunately. So not ideal. Paul Blomqvist and Aaron Goodrich trading blows, just swapping positions a couple of times there as Paul tried to go around the outside, and in the end Paul was able to make that one stick, but Aaron just having to think about whether he can make a move at the outside of the hairpin here. That's probably not going to be an easy one to pull off, and he'll have to think about Blake Greenhill just in behind them. He's able to slot back in between, but it was a little bit of a risky move there to look to the outside of Paul with Blake sniffing around in behind there.
He's always sniffing around.
So Leith Swinney currently leads in GT3, but Paul Blomqvist already up to P2, up 6 spots and only 1.3 behind. So I think Paul's going to be closing that down before too long and will be challenging for that race lead. But, oh! I've done the commentator's curse again. I'm having a good week for that, aren't I?
Wow, I'm speechless, Shane. You were at least finished your sentence this time.
Absolutely. He comes to pit lane, so hey, at least that's going to make the racing a bit more interesting. They've got 2 compulsory pit stops tonight, and these cars will get about an hour out of a tank of fuel. It's an hour 15 race, so He should be fine to get to the end of this on one more stop, so he gets the stop out of the way and gets the fast repair done as well, and yeah, he'll probably fill up the fuel and then go as long as he can before he takes a splash lane in the race to get to the end. But probably quite fortunate with where it happened being late in the lap and the fact that he is able to cover off the fast repair in that first pit stop, probably able to limit the damage quite well. And we'll see him putting some good laps in clean air now, and I actually wouldn't be surprised to see him coming out at or near the front once everybody else pits.
Yeah, clear air is your friend. So we see Darren Lobb, so he started out of pit lane and he's made his way now up into 5th in class.
Yep,
Yes,
currently sitting 5th in GT3. So qualified on pole, didn't line up on pole, took the start from the pit lane, and yeah, so he's showing he's been down 4 spots on my numbers, but he's actually come up through the field after starting from pit lane. So very good drive so far, and well, he's now ahead of Paul Blomqvist as well, and we could end up seeing an interesting battle between the two of them once all the pit stops play out.
You see Lou Robertson coming in to take his fast repair and getting himself back out there. Ben McMurray looks to have parked it up and is just in pit lane.
Yeah, so Ben doesn't get a huge amount of time for racing. I believe still at school, so currently in the middle of NCAA exams, and works part-time as well, and volunteers a lot at Highlands Motorsport Park. So as you can imagine, not a lot of free time in between all those things, and when he does get on to race, sometimes he's not really gelling with the track and he just decides that he doesn't want to be out there getting in people's way, so he'll just pull in and call it a night.
Yeah, that's fair. You know, I would probably do the same.
So Darren Lobb showing plenty of pace and just coming up to the back of Daniel Scholes now. Bouncing over those curves through the Digners, I believe these corners are called. I often get them confused with the Lesmos at Monza. And no, not the Lesbos, the Lesmos.
Yeah, selective hearing, okay.
And I could even have that the wrong way around, but anyway. Not the Lesmos, Lesbos, but the Digners, Lesmos. I could have the wrong way around.
See a job getting done here, getting the move done as he.
Yeah,
Side by side.
Through Spoon Curve. I definitely know what that one's called, even if I can't quite say it. And he's going to be just pulling in front down into 130R, and I can confirm that helpfully our camera pack has the corner names on them, and the two corners I referred to earlier are called the Digners at this one. So there's Digner 1 and Digner 2, two right-handers before the bridge there.
Yeah, at the camera pack there's quite a few names there, isn't there?
There is. Helpful if you know the names of the corners, but sometimes a little bit tricky if you only know them by numbers. You're like, okay, so what is this corner? It's called this, but where is it?
Yeah, I've got no idea. I think 17 turns, isn't there? 17 corners, 5. Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to say 5.8 kilometres. Just a guess.
5.75 kilometres. So yeah, if you're rounding that to one decimal place, then 5.8.
Yeah, earlier when I was looking at the information in iRacing, it told me 5.8 kilometres. I remembered it though. But, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, short-term memory is okay.
things looking a little bit spread out now. I'm not seeing any red or orange numbers on the gaps in my live timing.
No, it's the smallest gap I'm seeing is just over 1 second. Aaron Goodrick here is behind AB Larkey. That McLaren not quite matching the pace of that really high case BMW of Bilarkey's.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of use out of that thing, hasn't he?
Yeah, he does preach the BMW reliability.
Yep, so much so that even when his BMW road car broke down, he went and bought himself another BMW. I guess it doesn't get much more brand loyalty than that, does it?
Just another racing channel, I believe there's that been.
I guess so.
Cheers for the shout out, lads, and great job on the Movember. Well, I guess you mean couldn't be bothered, actually. Just thought I had enough room to avoid an incident, and didn't in the end. No, that's fair enough, Ben. That is fair enough.
And now he's posted that same comment under his personal account as well, so no confusion now as to who that is.
Yeah, we picked it up. We picked it up, mate. Where are you, mate? Come in and tell us your story. We've got an hour 15 here at Suzuka tonight, and we're only 11 minutes into the race, so still an hour to go. Plenty to talk about. And he did bring up Movember, and just an update. We've created a SuperCars NZ team for Movember now, and the combined team is up to 590 raised. I myself, I'm up to 570, and my whole contribution goes towards that SuperCars NZ one. But I couldn't have done it without the help of Steve putting up the hat on Trade Me, and then Stefan buying the hat. So big shout out to them. Made me real happy last night when that hat sold, mate.
Yeah, Stefan's agreed to put that hat back up for auction, so I believe he's going to add his signature, and then yeah, it's back up online now, so you can bid on that, and someone else will get the chance to join that piece of SuperCars NZ history, which it's a cool little tradition that we've got going on there from a few years back. I think it was maybe the second or third Enduro for Mental Health that came up, where Wayne went and got Bill to sign it, put it up on Trade Me, sold it, and since then everybody who's bought it has added their signature to it and put it back up.
Yeah, definitely pretty cool. That hat, me and Steve are going to work it out. We're going to come up with and try and figure out what the hat's actually earned itself, which I think it's done a pretty stellar job. It must be up close to 1,000 that hat's raised.
Could we argue that it's New Zealand's most valuable hat?
It could be New Zealand's most sought after hat, maybe.
Yeah.
I like that.
I guess there's bound to be something that was owned by a member of the royal family that left it here on a visit or something that's probably worth millions, but we'll claim it.
Yeah, I've just tried to post a couple of links up so in the chat. I'm not sure if they'll come up. I don't think they will, because they're links and I'm not trusted.
Well, you put the call out there, Corey, and he's answered the call. Ben McMurray joining us in the lounge. How's it going, Ben? Yeah. Yep, just a bit quiet, so I'm just turning you up on my end.
Perfect. Good night of racing here at Suzuka. Tricky wee track, but it's always good fun. Especially that corner there, we'll see Aaron getting a bit looser. That's where I was having a bit of trouble. I think everyone is quite easy. It's not quite flat. 130 hour.
Yeah, it is a tricky corner in the GT3s. Somebody who I'm sure is, if not listening right now and watching in the background, I'm sure he'll watch it when he gets a free moment and will hear me say this. Doug Bickley knows all too well the challenges of 130R. Ended up turning, I think he ended up turning too far left in that corner in the Suzuka 6 Hour a couple of years ago and put his car into the wall quite early on in his stint, and yeah, he still has deep regrets about letting his team down on that one, but hey, it's a mistake that anyone could have made.
Yeah, sure is.
So we've just recently seen Darren Lobb get past Aaron Goodrick. We can go back and have a look at that. And actually Darren's not too far away from putting a challenge on Blake Greenhill as well, but this is how he got past Aaron. Down the pit straight, pulls out of the draft, and clear by the braking point and just controls the corner at turn 1 there.
And there was a beautiful wee overtake, which I don't think was shown on lap 2. If we could get a replay around the outside of the Digners, I think it was Paul on there. Overtaking something, you can see it.
Yeah, actually I think we caught the end of that because I did see them swapping positions but didn't catch it live, so let's have a look back at the replay so you can see Paul go to the outside here. Yeah, that's a very good move. Very committed around the outside of Digna 1 there and then able to get to the apex of Digna 2. Aaron got the run there and we did catch this where Aaron attempted to go around the outside and then just had Blake sniffing at potentially being able to sneak up the inside of the hairpin, but thought better of it in the end. And then it wasn't long after this actually that we saw Paul come a cropper and has since had to take his fast repair and recovering that ground now, but he is already back up to 10th, so not doing a bad job of it considering he's already got that first stop out of the way.
Yeah, and speaking of coming through the field, I think Darren Lobb was starting from the pit lane, if I was correctly, and he's already somewhere near the front. He's in the third. He's already about to take Mr. Blake Greenhill. Quick driver there.
Yeah, Darren Shaw did start from the pit lane and doing a great job to be up to P3 at the moment as Blake just has a bit of a twitch out of Digna 1, compromises line at Digna 2, and that's going to give Darren a bit of a run. He's going to have to go the long way around at the hairpin though. Can he get it done here?
It's a tricky place. You always want the inside there, but you can't quite get a switch back done. The slipstream isn't quite powerful enough through to, I want to say, Spoon Corner.
Yes, coming up to Spoon Curve now, and yeah, I think he's probably just going to look to get the exit out of Spoon and then use the draft down the back straight, and if we can get alongside into 130R, I think Blake's probably just going to have to give it up because it is a very tricky spot to be on the outside at 130R. You don't really want to try and fight it out there, but Blake is a hard racer and he might surprise us a little bit.
And of course the braking zone. You'd almost just want to wait there. You've got a really good braking zone into a tight wee series of corners. Always a good place. No, he's not going to go for it. Try for the exit. It's a little bit far left.
Yeah, Blake actually got a good run through 130R and was able to open up that gap so Darren couldn't actually go for the late braking move down into the chicane. Getting another good dose of draft here and not able to pull out and go for the move into turn 1. So Blake actually did a really good job at the moment to keep Darren at bay. And through the S's section, Darren's really just going to have to be patient. This is not a spot, not a part of the track where it's easy to go for an overtake. Not impossible, but certainly far from easy. And we're probably actually not too far. Actually, we've seen the GTP cars have already come through and put a lap on that GT3 field, so I missed them coming too, but later in the race I'm sure we'll see them have to do it a few more times, as I've just heard tyres squealing, and Aaron Goodrick, I had a feeling it might be him. Oh, and Daniel Scholes just squeezes around him. So,
It would actually be Nico's gold, but racing on his old man's account, I think. Young 14-year-old from Invercar.
oh, very cool. So look at what happened to Aaron here. Oh, just getting it on that curb and just unsettling the rear of his McLaren and looping it into the Armco, and fairly decent impact, but it was quite square on, so it might have been quite fortunate where it's just been able to let that crumple zone do its job and absorb that impact. And while it's looking a bit second-hand cosmetically and the aero won't be great, I'd say mechanically it might be sound underneath. In fact, we can jump on board and see what's going on with the steering wheel.
Looks all good. It's certainly one of those tracks where you don't want an alignment issue, especially with lots of fast left and fast rights.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
right.
We'll
Yeah.
find out in the next couple of 100 metres if he's all good. If he's all good, not going in the pits.
Those
Oh.
McLarens are pretty tough.
Oh, he's had a big wobble out of the chicane and just drifted into the grass, but yeah, it does seem to be tracking straight. There's a little bit of movement going on the wheel in a straight line. Not sure if that's a wheel setting that's giving him a bit of a shake or if that's due to some damage, but does look to be tracking pretty straight, so I think he's okay mechanically.
It's an easy corner where he looped it to do because you have to brake before it, but only a tiny bit. It's real easy to arm the steer out wide.
Yeah, sure is. So Blake Greenhall still holding off Darren Lobb.
Going defensive once more. Interesting line through there.
Oh, he runs a little bit wide and Darren's able to get alongside, but Blake's going to have the inside. And
He's still hanging out there. Right.
yeah, Blake just able to get you clear and gets to the apex at Spoon Curve and into the second apex there as well. But Darren right on him off there, and he's going to tuck right in under that rear wing now. You'll get a good draft down here. Just seems to be a bit hesitant to pull out and try and go side by side into 130R though, and sits in behind and just loses a bit of ground again in the dirty air there. But Blake running wide, not, oh, bit of a touch there under brakes, gets away with it. Darren just dropping back as he looked to make sure he didn't hit him too hard. Certainly a ripper battle that these guys are giving us at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a consistent driver there in Blake. Always right in the area of the front in that beamer.
I've just noticed I've got the bottom of the track map sitting at the top of the screen again. So I shall fix that one up. We'll lose our timing tower briefly, but that should all come back in a moment and then we won't have that track map sitting there. There we go, all back, and these two coming up towards the hairpin again, and I think that's the part of the track where Darren seems to be closest to Blake, but he just can't seem to quite position his car to be able to make a move there. It's a tricky spot because the track curves to the right just in the braking zone, so you actually start braking out, or you start your approach to that corner out to the left, bring it across to the right through that little kink as you get on the brakes, and yeah, it becomes quite hard to try and fire it down the inside into there. But Darren again getting a good run. He's going to pull out this time, so this is where he's going. I've been hesitant to make this move in the past, but I need to take my opportunity, and Blake just able to pinch him at the apex there and get back ahead.
Yeah, we love to see the close racing, don't we? And these two definitely good for that. Lobby he's fast, and no matter what he drives, and Balaki just turns up and does what he does, doesn't he?
He does, and this is it. I think it was closer through the chicane on account of actually trying to go for the move at 130R and just able to get alongside before turn one, and then able to prevent Blake from taking the apex at turn one, which then enabled him to get down the inside at turn two and get that move done. So he's had to work for that one, Darren, but he's finally got that one done as we've got Nico Cordia in the pits taking his first stop.
And I know it's certainly a thing for single seaters, but that aero wash on his tyres might be accelerating that wear and kind of overheating the tyres. Is that a thing in GT cars as well?
Yeah, I believe it is. The front splitter that you see on the front of the GT3 cars definitely produces a significant amount of aero, so when you're sitting under the rear wing of another car, taking that clean air off the splitter certainly results in the front wheels sliding across the track a lot more, which thereby increases tyre wear as well.
That's a nice safety truck.
It
Nico might
is.
be serving himself a penalty. Maybe he's been up on the jacks there. 43 seconds up on the jacks. They've got 107 down the lane for the full transit. So a long stop for Nico Cordia.
Yeah, it was certainly a lengthier stop there. If we look at comparing that to Paul Blomqvist, obviously different class of car, so not necessarily directly comparable, but Paul just 14.35 seconds up on the jacks for that one, so I don't know though, usually if you get a penalty it's 40 seconds, and he was in there for 43 seconds, so I don't think his pit stop would have been only 3 seconds.
And he's not a man to be involved in any trouble. Normally quite respectful and always fair racer, old Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd suspect if there was a penalty, certainly a stop and hold at the pit stop, it would have been a speeding penalty on the way into the lane, which would normally be that 40-second penalty, and yeah, it looks like if he has served a 40-second penalty, it's actually been a very short pit stop. Lee Robinson's had, oh, that's only caught the end of it in the middle of a big moment, catches the tyre barrier, wipes the bumper off the car, brings it to a stop.
Yeah, and he's
Carries
come
on.
back down the lane to take himself another fast repair if there is more than one available. But I'm just looking at the incidents at the moment. Blue's up at 16, and I just want to confirm it. 17 is the limit.
Yep.
Second
So,
way spin for Louis as well. Just lap 1, and then Louis lap 16.
yeah, so Louis is going to have to be very careful from here on out if he doesn't want to get himself a penalty there, with 16 incident points, just one away from that penalty limit. So, yeah, long way to go with only one incident point.
Yeah, Aaron Goodrick sitting in the lane now as well. He's jumped to the pits, so I think he may have parked it.
Yeah, that does look to be the
Towing.
case. Leith Swinney doing a great job out there, still leading this race. Yeah, I talked about the potential of Paul Blomqvist getting onto the back of him just before Paul then put it into the wall and had to tow back to pit lane. And actually, Paul's incident there was very similar to very similar to Doug's one that I referred to in the Suzuka 6 hours a few years ago. So, just goes to show how easy of a mistake it is to make at that corner.
All that line through there. Turn in a bit too early, come in a bit too shallow of an angle, you'll be in that wall.
Yeah, and then especially if you're in a bit of traffic and not getting the air across the rear wing in that case, yeah, if you lose that downforce on the rear, then it can quite quickly go around on you and see you go into that inside fence there. Although Paul wasn't in a huge amount of traffic when it happened, he had just moved up to P2 and was, I think, still about a second and a half back from the lead, so probably wasn't getting too much aero wash at that stage, but yeah, certainly made that mistake and ended up in the fence. But yeah, Leith out there in control of this race, 2.5 seconds clear of Darren Lobb at the moment, but we know how much space Darren Lobb's got. Darren's best time of the race so far, a 2 minute .64, and Leith's actually done a 2 minute .85, so slightly quicker, oh sorry, only 2 tenths slower on best lap pace. But on the last lap, Leith did, and actually we can see it update this time around as well. So Leith's just done a 2 minute 1.16, and Darren's done a 2 minute flat .45.
Yeah, the other fastest on the track, Paul Bloomquist, his last time by a 2 flat .98. So getting some warm tyres and getting into it, getting into a bit of a rhythm.
Yeah, we saw Paul come out with a whole lot of clear track around him, and since then he's actually caught and passed a few cars, although actually the majority of the cars that he's moved ahead have since been in the pits, so I don't think he's actually passed them on track. I think that's been those guys have come to the pits and he's passed them while they've been in the lane. So Darren Lobb showing as having taken a pit stop, but he started from the pits, so that will be why he's got one pit stop next to his name on my data, but he hasn't actually served one of his compulsory pit stops yet. And other than that, Paul is the first guy that has taken a pit stop, so he could be in the box seat, but obviously he had that little setback after that incident, was able to recover back to the pits quite quickly and take that fast repair, but he did lose a little bit of time by having the spin and then had to drive slowly back that short distance to the pit lane as well. So did lose a bit of time, and it will be interesting to see where he comes out relative to the guys at the front there. As he suffers mountains of understeer there and just runs a little bit wide in the middle of the sprint curve. And he's got Nico Cordia just making his way around him in the GTP, so that's those guys putting another lap on the GT3 field, and still
Always
haven't.
a tricky thing for the GTPs because they're pretty close in pace in the corners, especially on here with a lot of higher speed corners, so the only real place they can overtake tends to be straights, and same with the braking zone, quite close there. But lucky, only a couple of them in tonight's field.
Yeah, but in saying that, they've still got 11 GT3 cars to make their way around, and quite a twisty track as well, especially that first sector through the S's. If you're catching a GT3 car at the wrong time, or especially a group of GT3 cars at the wrong time, it's going to be rather tricky to try and find your way around through this section of the track. So I'm interested to see if we can catch Stefano and Nico making their way through the traffic at this part of the track and see how they deal with that. Leith Swinney's just been in the pits and come out in P5. So he has actually come out ahead of Paul Blomqvist. So Paul looking at about 7 seconds to make up on the guy who was within 2 seconds on when he had his incident. And Leith's even had a slightly longer stop, so I would suspect just got a bit more fuel in the car and will have less to add at his second stop, so that's going to factor into the ground that Paul needs to make up as well.
Yeah, Stefan McCartan's been down the lane now too, so his transit time through the lane, 39.5 seconds, 57 seconds, and 16.7 seconds upon the jacks. So compared to Nico Cordia, he's now got himself a 44-second gap back to Nico now.
Yeah, the general rule with pit stops on endurance races, chuck as much fuel in at the start because it's basically free time. Don't have to have that time adding in all those levers.
Yeah, that's right. If you need to use more than a full tank in the race, then it's not a fuel drop race. We don't have that like supercars used to have in real life. They've actually just ditched that as well recently, which I think was a good call. But yeah, so there's no amount required to add during the race. So anything that you don't put in, you end up just having to add later on anyway, which is time sat stationary. So certainly, while you do gain a little bit in outright lap pace by having a little bit less weight in the car, it certainly isn't enough um, to make it worth starting with a lighter load, as Nico have been just recently been down the lane, taking the strategy of taking his two stops very close together, straight back in, and comes down. He'll stop in his box just behind the safety truck. And even when we go to the pit lane camera, he's still hiding behind the safety truck.
Yeah, little car, big truck.
Yeah.
Dan Turner just leaving the lane, so that's his second pit stop, I believe, as well.
And Stefan comes out. That completes his compulsory pit stop requirement, and Nico Cordia just now coming onto the front straight. So Stefan leading by a pit stop, and the gap's still correcting itself now. Looks like about 11 seconds. So a pit stop plus 11 seconds Stefan's got on Nico at the moment. So that slower stop for Nico hurting him there, and yeah, he's going to have his work cut out to try and close that gap down.
Yeah, nobody wants to work this hard on a Thursday. But I mean, he's going to be on the podium anyway, so just run your race. There's Blake Greenhall down the lane for his second stop now as well. He was in P5, P4 in class, 3 in class.
Yep, so he goes up on the jacks.
I hope you didn't leave that Porsche running, Ben.
I think I did, but
Yeah,
I'm not paying the fuel bill, so
35 minutes it's been sitting there just idling. I bet you the temperature's up.
it's lucky we've got you guys, because one of the old issues I always find with watching endurance racing is knowing where someone is with the pit stops and people being out of sequence, so it's always very handy. You're watchful nice.
Yeah, it can certainly take a while to pan out, especially when you've got guys required to make two pit stops when they can technically do it on one, and we've actually seen guys like Blake Greenhall do a race of this length in a GT3 car on, or attempt to do it on no pit stops. A couple of weeks ago, we got the rules a little bit muddled up, and I told them no pit stops in the driver briefing, and it wasn't actually until last week when I realised I got that wrong. So we stuck with the no pit stop rule a couple of weeks ago, and Blake was thinking he could save enough to get to the end without stopping. But unfortunately, things didn't go to plan in the race for him, and he ended up crashing out and joining us in the lounge in the end.
Hopefully, for his sake, we're not seeing him in the lounge tonight.
That's right, it's certainly going well so far, and two pit stops out of the way, and he's actually in the GT3 field, the lead car that has made 2 stops.
I did threaten to pull him in for a hot lap, and he just laughed. I said, "Don't laugh. It might happen."
We can still go on his onboard, but maybe without the driver commentary.
Oh no, it needs the driver commentary.
So, driver's eye view here into turn 1, 5th gear, and
Right.
then back to
you go.
second for turn 2, but running it very wide there, didn't get anywhere near the apex unfortunately. Into the S's now, 3rd gear, left, right, and then each corner just gets a little bit slower than the last, so you're always slowing it down a bit more, and then you get through here into this big long sweeping left-hander up the hill, double apex, finally able to get some power down for a sustained period, and then you arrive at the Dignas on the brakes, 3rd gear through Digna 1, bounce it over that curb there, back to 2nd gear for Digna 2, use the camera in the road to slingshot the car through there and grab a little bit of curb on the inside, sneak it over to the right in the kink to set up for the left-hand hairpin, back to 1st gear in the BMW, and then get the power down, get those gear changes, try to stay off the traction control as you get the power down there, but traction control is there to save you if you do get a bit too excited. And then pulling gears, constantly turning to the right. He's got Stephen McCartan making his way past into Spoon Curve. Goes back to 3rd gear here, down to 2nd for the 2nd apex at Spoon, and then get that power down onto the straight. Pull gears, hit the limiter there coming out of 3rd, so slightly mistimed that shift. Up to 5th gear here, coming down towards 130R. Just backing out of the throttle, tip it in there, back on the throttle, run it out to the exit curb, on the brakes, down to 2nd gear for this right-left chicane. Get the power down, make sure you get it down cleanly and don't drift out too wide through this flat-out right-hander, and then come across the line to complete a lap.
Perfect.
I think Blake would have done it better.
I'm sure he would have.
She's just settled down, hasn't it? It's fairly quiet out there. There's some big gaps between some of the drivers. And it's like Nico Skiles. He hasn't made any stops yet. Maybe he's going for the double, quick pit stop at the end for some tyres and some fuel, obviously.
I think he did have about 100 litres in that car when he started, so he might be expecting.
So Darren Lobb's in the lane. This is showing on the data as his 2nd stop, but the 1st stop that counted was actually him starting from pits, so this is his first genuine stop. And we know Darren normally likes to go as long as he can on the fuel, although I would expect them to be able to get an hour out of the tank. So Nico Skiles carrying on for now. Takes over the lead. So if you are going to run the strategy of running it dry, I'd probably expect to see Nico still out there for another quarter of an hour at least. But if he does that, he is going to have to make that 2nd stop not too long after, although it would be perfectly within the rules to run the 1st tank dry, make that stop, and then make the 2nd stop as you come around to start the final lap and actually start the final lap on the pits. You can't do it at the end of your final lap because you cross the line before you get to the pit bay, and you have to not only stop and do the tyre change in your pit bay, but actually get out of the pits as well before you've completed that pit stop to count towards your compulsory stop. So wouldn't be able to do it on the final lap, but certainly could do it with a lap to go and then come out of the pits and do 1 lap to get to the end. That would be absolutely within the rules.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't surprise me if he knows a thing or two about endurance strategy. Of course, running in the South Island Endurance Championships in a Toyota 86. In real life, of course.
Very cool. So out of interest, and you might have the answer to this question, Ben, I wonder if with Nico having that Toyota 86, is he going to be doing the Toyota 86 Championship this summer?
No, so the Toyota 86 Championship entry list has been put out. I think I saw that somewhere on Facebook this morning. I have a feeling he is still running in his normal one, not quite the full GR one, and I think over the winter they're going to be having I think it's just called the Winter Series, running the old spec cars, because of course they've moved to the new GR from the TR 86s, and yeah, I think he might enter in that, and then hopefully maybe next season or the one after that progress up into the big boy leagues. He is of course only 14, so he is still quite young. And
Into Barbie, I see as well.
yes,
Yeah.
he's a very quick driver out there on track, certainly challenging from what I've seen in the local sprint series as well.
And very cool that we've got those 86s as a pathway for young drivers now as well, where it used to be the case that when you come out of karts, you go into a Formula Ford and into that open wheel setting, and obviously a lot of people still ended up going down the tin top path from that, but it's very cool that they have an option now where they can come out of karts and step straight into a tin top race car.
Yeah, and Toyota, of course, pouring quite a bit of money into that series. We all know, with a very famous Toyota Racing Series, or whatever mouthful it's called now, the Castrol Toyota Formula Regional Oceania Championship, the biggest series name I think in the world.
Hence why they just call it CT Frock.
Yeah,
If they were on YouTube, they would need all of those characters, Shano, the whole 150.
They would, yes.
Lou Robinson is down the lane again, so it's a scheduled pit stop for him, maybe? Oh no, it's a drive-through, that is.
Oh,
16 out of 17 incidents we mentioned earlier, and I think he might have had one more off track.
Yeah, we've got one driver's given up, he's on 17. We've got another two have hit 17, and one is on 21.
oh.
And Ben McMurray, you've got a meatball flare.
That's probably because you're blowing up that engine with the car running in pit lane.
No, the meatball flag was there, I just haven't served it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It was lap one, coming out of the last lap.
He pulled it in the pit and just stormed off. He did the Greg Murphy, went straight to the Portaloo.
So Leith Swinney's still the first guy in the order that's taken one compulsory pit stop for GT3. An interesting dynamic out there where we've got guys that have taken both the compulsory stops, other guys that have taken one, and Nico Scholes out there hasn't taken any.
Yeah, I wonder whether he actually has and our data's just not showing it. I don't know. He must be due to come in though. The fuel level must be getting down to dodgy.
Well, they've got the full tank available to them tonight, and normally get about an hour out of a GT3 tank of fuel. So just coming up to 50 minutes into the race, potentially could still keep going for another 10 minutes yet.
Got a spinner, got a smoke there ahead of Swinney. Must be someone getting a snap of overs there. No, might be my eyes. Oh no, that was that black and white car. Just popped behind him.
Easiest way to find out who that was would be like this, and that's Thomas McCall.
we go. So yes, went for a little spin.
And we do have some off-track data on Thomas, so let's see what happened there. Into spin curve, ooh, getting loose into the corner, correcting it and running wide, and then just down in the marbles, completely losing the rear of that car. So a little bit of a wild ride there, but getting it stopped and getting underway again.
As we approach the 50-minute mark now, so almost at 25 minutes to go. Everything is still spread out. And that gap that Stefan McCartan has now is out to 34 seconds at the front in the GTP class. And as we're seeing there, Daniel Scholes, 17-second lead over Leith Swinney, but as we know, he hasn't had any pit stops, and Leith and Paul in second and third in class still need to make their second. And it looks like everybody else in the GT3 class taken their second stop.
Yes, Darren, it looks like
yeah.
came down the
He's
lane again pretty quickly after that. After we saw him take that first stop, he's showing us 3 times through the lane now, which means he has, as well as starting from the pits, has come through another 2 times to satisfy that compulsory pit stop requirement. So that's all done. I wonder if, with the requirement to change a minimum of 2 tyres at each stop, those guys that have taken their stops close together, I suspect they've probably gone 2 tyres, whether it be lefts, rights, fronts, rears or diagonal. They've changed whatever 2 tyres on that first stop, come back around, change the other 2 on the second stop, so they've got 4 pretty fresh tyres on there when they get out for that second time.
We've got cars close together on track here now. Look at this. Start lobby coming up behind Paul Bloomquist, 1.5 seconds, and then we've got Chris Zalewski and Dan Turner under a second. So we've got a yellow up on the data. It sticks out with all those white ones, doesn't it, Shane?
It does. So for anybody at home who's not quite sure what we're talking about, when Corey and I are looking at our live timing on SDK, anything that's under a second comes up yellow, goes orange as it gets towards half a second, and then red as it gets within, I think, about 3/10.
Yeah, at the start of the race, everything's generally pretty red and orange, and you don't see it completely white very often, do you? It is quite a long circuit here with a 2-minute lap for the GT3s.
Yeah, it is quite a lengthy run. Obviously, being a Formula One circuit, generally they tend to be longer, because if you have something that takes a minute and a half to get around in something like this, or a V8 supercar, then it's only going to take an F1 car a little over a minute to get around there. So generally the F1 circuits tend to be a little bit longer, so then those incredibly fast cars aren't doing quite so many laps.
And adding to that thing you mentioned before about tyres and pit stops, of course it's being a figure 8 circuit, you've got quite a good mix of left and right turns. Normally, it's a traditional circuit, this being going counterclockwise or clockwise, you would do in this situation maybe take 2 tyres, as we see Dan Turner getting ahead of Mr. Chris Zalewski, who just ran wide through that turn 1 to 3.
Yeah, so Chris just got a little bit hot in turn 1 there, ran wide and wasn't able to get back towards the track through turn 2, just ran around through the runoff area and rejoined between turns 2 and 3, and unfortunately in behind Dan Turner, who is now just over a second clear. This gap's come right down now. Darren Lobb getting right onto the back of Paul Blomqvist, and Paul's still yet to make that second stop as well, so Darren with quite an advantage over Paul at the moment, and I was thinking potentially this would be the battle towards the end of the race, but not looking to be the case at this point.
Yeah, sub 2-minute lap for Darren Lobb last time by a 1:59.71. So here's the man on a mission.
Yeah, that's incredible pace. Where previously through the race we've seen that fastest pace be in the 2 minute flats. So to see a sub 2 minute lap, that's incredible pace from Darren. Although he's just run a little bit wide through Digna 2 there and conceded a little bit of ground to pull.
I'm wondering if Daniel Scholes is running an illegal fuel tank this evening. Still no trip down the lane for him. He's going to call 31 laps on the tank of fuel and almost at that hour point that you said, Shano, at the start. And Brito gave hello from Fiji. He's doing a Steve Darren and tuning in from Fiji. G'day, BJ. Hope you're getting a tan, my friend.
That's a bit rude, isn't it? He could have taken us with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't fit in his suitcase, yeah.
And never mind the fact that it would probably cost us about as much, if not more, to get to where he lives as it would to get to Fiji.
Yes, yeah, no, it does. It costs an arm and a leg to get to Perth from here, that's for sure. I'll hopefully get to catch up with you, BJ, when you come back at Christmas, mate. Send us a postcard from Fiji, man. So Darren Lobb still putting the pressure on Paul Bloomquist, who we know he can handle the pressure fairly well, being a professional. No tan,
Yeah,
BJ.
Now this is what I wanted to see. Stephen McCartan catching this little battle in the S's section and
Oh my
having to
God.
take to the grass through Dunlop curve to get that one done.
He did a good wreck.
He did.
Not quite as extravagant on the grass as Aaron Goodrick did, but we'll take it.
Yeah. Looked like
Bobby
a
getting a nose up.
little bit of a touch there, front to rear bumper. Darren obviously a fan of that default paint scheme for the Mustang, because we've seen him running that all season and hasn't gone on trading paints to get himself another paint, isn't running a team paint for it, just running that default scheme there, so obviously a fan. Oh, Paul runs a bit wide over the back of the curb and Darren's able to get the momentum, but he goes deep at the chicane, cuts the second part. That's going to give him a slowdown, and he just has to let Paul go back past there.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's going to give Paul a little bit of a buffer, but we'll see how long that goes. We're almost at the hour mark now, 57 minutes, 47. So next time by, we'll be right on the hour. There'll be 15 minutes to go.
And it looks like Nico is in the pits.
For the second time, so he's taken that first stop, done the same thing as Darren did, come straight back around and coming down the lane again, probably to do the two tyres that he didn't do in the previous stop. That's probably not a bad strategy call that way when you're required to take a minimum of 2 tyres at each stop. Make those stops on consecutive laps, get 4 tyres done across 2 laps, and it just means that you're essentially on 4 new tyres. Obviously just that 1 lap on the tyres that you did first, but not too much of an offset there, so probably helps things in terms of balance and overall life of the tyres, and yeah, probably not a bad way to do it. So it looks like just Paul and Leith yet to take that second stop. I wonder
Yeah,
if it's
Paul.
I wonder if it's worth someone just sending Paul a message to remind him that it is 2 compulsory pit stops, because he did join quite late, so he might not have caught the driver's briefing.
He was well aware.
Okay.
We were looking at the strategy beforehand.
Okay,
It was
that's
talking
good to
about
know.
2.
Alright, good to know.
Yep, sounds like that sorted.
Yeah.
See Leith Swinney taking to the lane to take his final pit stop now.
And speak of the devil,
Yep, so
Paul
Paul comes down the lane as well, so he was aware. I just wondered because the fact that Darren had caught up to him. I know sometimes we see Paul check up to let the likes of Darren have a bit of a race with him. I wondered if he had done that, not realising he still needed to come down the lane a second time, but he was obviously aware of that. So that's going to give Darren a commanding lead now after starting from the pits. So very strong performance as Leith comes out. He's going to be racing Blake Greenhall on the exit here. Blake looking to sweep around the outside, but Leith's just going to get there, and I reckon we might have a nice little battle towards the end of the race between these two.
Yeah, Paul Bloomquist just 15 seconds behind them. I say just, it's 16.6 seconds now that it's sort of caught up with itself. So that spin, that incident there for Paul Bloomquist has definitely affected where he's going to finish. So he's just off the podium, so he's got a bit of work to do in the last 15 minutes.
And I think there's here over the radio now. Don't know if you guys heard that. Paul asking about safety car in a 10-minute dash.
Well, I think that might make it a bit too easy for him, mightn't it?
Might have been the strategy all along. You never know. And Nico, of course, on the radio as well. And agreement.
Of course he is. At 1 minute 27 gap, that Stefan would get eaten up. We just had it off track. Went off track, Nico Cordier.
So at least just been able to pull out a bit more of a margin on his outlap here. So I think probably having a couple of fresh tyres on that car is just going to give him that margin he needs to pull away from Blake towards the end of the race. So I don't think where I'd called that we might have a good wee battle between these two. I don't think that's going to quite pan out, unfortunately. We did see Leith showing strong pace early in the race to pull away while Paul and Darren were making their way through from the back as well. Well, everything is quite spread out. A safety car would certainly make it interesting towards the end of the race, wouldn't it? Everybody's taken all their compulsory pit stops. Hint, hint.
Yellow, yellow, yellow.
And we have got a safety car.
I got the hint. There we go, folks. Shane told me to do it. Oh, Paul Bloomquist crashed just before I threw it.
No way. Oh my.
Oh,
I
poor
need a
bugger.
replay on that one.
It's going to take a bit of everybody sort of catching up to each other. It's going to take a little bit of effort.
So here we have the replay of Paul. Same corner, running wide, getting out on the curve. Almost caught it this time, but just got the big tank slapper going on and running out through the runoff area. Does he get back to the pit lane to get a fast repair? He does. So, oh, he's actually pulled up and towed back to the pits.
I think there might be a retirement from him.
Well, the safety truck's just sitting in pit lane. So he's waiting for this man.
He sure is. So Stefan McCartan is our leader. Safety car needs to pick him up, and we will see. Nico Scholes will get to pass the safety car here, and Stefan will. Well, he's actually just passed him, but he's obviously been told to let the safety car come back past. So safety truck just a little bit slow to get out of pit lane there, but does eventually pick up Stefan.
Yeah, it's only going to be sort of a probably 6 or 7 minute race after all of this has happened, I think.
Yeah, so it looks like we've got a few cars that probably need a wave around there, Corey. So P7 down in the GT3s by the look of it will need to be waved around.
Now I'm thinking we might only have two laps here at best. It'll be a very intense shootout for the one here.
So from P7 down gets a lap, or just the ones that are a lap down?
The ones that are a lap down, so P7 and GT3, but P9 overall from there down.
Yep, there's just the 3 cars that are 1 lap down off the lead lap of GT3.
Okay, and I believe Nico Cordia was still on the lead lap. He's going to have a couple of GT3 cars in front of him, between himself and Stefan. Unfortunately, without waving all of those GT3 cars around as well, there's no other way to deal with that, and if we do that, it's just going to, by the time we let those first lot of GT3 cars and then wave all the GT3 cars around again, that's just going to add too much time. We'll probably run out of time, so it'll be that Nico's going to have to make his way through that traffic if he wants to challenge Stefan.
Sounding like the old Abu Dhabi 2021 by the sounds of that, but certainly always a tricky thing to do right at the end of the race. Black cars and all.
Yeah, well, we have waved around everybody that's a lap down on the leader in their class. We're just not waving the GT3 class around, because that would have to let those first GT3 cars catch the field and then wave all the GT3 cars around again. Otherwise, those first GT3 cars are just going to be still a lap down. So we can see on the track map where everybody is, and we can see the pace truck and Stefan coming into 130R there, and a couple of GT3 cars currently behind him as well, and a few more getting onto the pack. That's one of the waved around cars making his way by there.
Might be Thomas McCole.
Yes, yep, he's the last of the ones that were 5 laps down.
And Stefan coming to the pit lane, so
what's happened there? Might be a penalty for wrong position in the safety car. Not quite sure.
he certainly seemed to be in the right position. He was the leader and he was behind the safety car, so I think he's just coming in to get some fresh tyres on. So that's going to mean...
Might still come out ahead of Nico at this rate. We shall see in the next couple of seconds.
But what it is going to mean is... if I go this way... So...
He's just coming off Jax? No, just going to be behind him.
that's confusing.
You're welcome to give me a wave round as well.
Okay, well that's actually a relief. So what didn't happen in our previous safety car has happened this time, where everybody that was between Nico and the safety car has been waved around. So that's cleansed that. That's what I was worried about and trying to get on top of, but it's all been sorted there. Although, probably Daniel Scholes needs a wave around, and Dan Turner, Chris Zalewski, and Thomas McCall as well, otherwise they're going to be disadvantaged now.
I gave them all the wave around.
No, so what's
Dan
happened?
Turner,
What's happened is Darren, Leith, and Blake have been waved around because they were in front of. Oh, so probably just Daniel Scholes then. I think he hasn't had a wave around, and he didn't get that wave around for being in front of Nico.
Alright, I waved him around anyway.
Yep, so that makes sure he's going to be on the back of those GT3 runners who were on the lead lap, so that should cleanse all that.
Blake Greenhill in the lane. Maybe it's time for him to. Maybe has he got a penalty? Oh, he's got a black flag. I'm not sure what that was for. But he'll be in there serving it now, so it's obviously maybe a unsafe release or anything.
Yeah, not sure. That's an interesting one though. Maybe came in to take a pit stop and got caught speeding because he's been sitting there for coming up 30 seconds now.
This race is gonna. Oh, the light's off on the safety car, so it's coming in this time by.
Yep, sure is. So we've got, well, only a few minutes remaining. And Nico's going to have control of the field. He's got Stefan right behind him.
Green flag,
Those
green flag.
GT3 cars that were waved around still catching the back of the pack. And Nico's going to do his best to hold off Stefan, but Stefan on fresh tyres and having fantastic pace up to the point where the safety car was called. So he's certainly going to have the pace that he needs to try and look at making a move. But Nico's certainly a talented driver in his own right and knows where to put the car to make it a bit harder for Stefan to get around, and it's not a huge amount of time that he's going to need to hold him off for. Probably only one more lap after this one.
Oh, running a bit wide, snap of oversteer there. Be right, have Stefan right as rear bumper. Probably not an overtaking opportunity here. Just got to watch for that lap traffic coming up.
Well, I feel like the safety car didn't really do anything good apart from bring these two close together. Everybody else is spread out. Thomas McCall's managed to catch up to the back of the pack. Chris Zawalski is in front of him.
And there we go. Watch for the braking zone here. Stefan's switching to the outside. Nico defending that inside. Nose.
Oh, there's a touch!
Touch.
Oh. Well, I'm not sure whether maybe there needed to be a little bit more space given there. I think Stefan was there. It looked like he was in control and at the apex, so Yeah, I feel like probably Stefan did everything he needed to do there, and Nico probably just thought he could come over a little bit more than he probably could get away with, and yeah, just squeezed a bit tight there, trying to carry the momentum around that left-hander of the chicane, and just squeezing a bit too much and making contact there. Thomas McCall on the back of Chris Zaluski at the moment. So a good wee battle going on here. So time is up as well, so the leaders are on the final lap now. In fact, everybody has come across the line following them now as well, so everybody should be on the final lap.
Oh, another tricky exit there for Thomas. Probably always quite hard on that one, low speed traction. And we're seeing our winner now turning towards the checkered flag in GTP. Stephen McCartan takes that flag and takes that win here at Suzuka for our endurance round. And Nico Cordia now, slightly unfortunate, or we may see soon on the replay, coming through to take second place in our GTP class.
And Blake Greenhill just behind comes home fourth. Chris Zaluski's going to lead home Thomas McCall for fifth. And then just behind them, we've actually got our leader in GT3, and Darren's going to come across the line and take out the GT3 class. Leith Swinney coming in second in that one. And then we've actually got a sizable gap now back to Nico Scholes, but he looks to have P3 wrapped up. I don't think there's anybody on his lap that can pass him, so
Yeah.
he's going to have that one in the bag, just has to make his way to the line.
Of course, winning last week out in Sebring and back on the podium in third place.
Oh, cooling the tyres in the grass there on the way into 130R. And bring it through the chicane now for the final time, and he will come around and come across the line now to pick up the final spot on the podium.
And that might be all.
Yeah, that looks like everybody has come across the line now. All tying back to pit lane as well, so
Yeah, I think we might need to see a replay of that penultimate lap incident down at the last sector.
yeah, that's a fair call. So we can probably run it through from here. So into 130R, you can see Stefan very close behind there. They come into the chicane, Stefan on the outside. I think Nico just thought he was going to get a little further clear on the inside there, and thought he'd have a bit more, or thought he'd just about be clear of Stefan when he got to the second apex and could take the normal line there, and just got caught out a bit there with how well Stefan had done to stay alongside there. I think maybe a good view to see
Might be
that
chase
in
cam.
a little bit slow motion.
Running it in chase cam maybe.
Go with the chopper
Helicopter.
cam.
There we go.
So on the outside there, Stefan, and you can see Nico got some ground back having the inside line, And yeah, Stefan certainly well and truly up on that curb, and I think Nico just didn't realise that Stefan was still there and tried to take the sort of normal line through and just got caught out a little bit there.
Yeah, a bit of a racing incident, but it's just how things go, especially fighting for the win. And I think as we speak of the devil, or not the devil, maybe with the wrong term there, but we got Nico Cordia in the waiting room here.
Yeah, we can get it from the horse's mouth. Bit of contact between yourself and Stefan coming to the white flag there, Nico, and you unfortunately went around. What did you make of that incident?
Yeah, it's a hard one to call. I think it was a bit of a ballsy move to go into the chicane on the final one. Um, I'll have to go and review it. I kind of think I had the corner. I didn't sound in the car that Stefan was alongside me. It kind of sounded like he backed off coming into the corner. So yeah, try to keep it at the front, and yeah, I got spun. So yeah, all honesty, I don't know exactly. I'll have to go and have a look. It's a hard one. I don't know what it looked like for you guys in the comms. But oh
Yeah,
well, it's a good it was a good race. Couple spins here and there at the end and halfway through, which just pushing a bit too hard and utilizing the tire a bit too much. But yeah, actually started enjoying the race. Had a bit of doubt in practice that I was going to be any good at all, and yeah, managed all right. Quite quite disappointed on my last pit stop. I just took 2 tires and I should have taken 4 because that's when the first spin went. And it's just had all the grip at the front and none at the rear.
yeah. So we saw an interesting strategy in that regard from some of the guys where they were taking their first stop, and then the next lap they'd come back in and take their second stop. And I came to the conclusion that they were probably doing 2 tyres in the first stop, and then the other 2 tyres in the second stop to level that out and get 4 fresh tyres there. So an interesting take on the 2 CPS rule there.
Yeah, definitely. I know for a fact I wouldn't have made it if I did that. With the GDP, the fuel tank is just not covering the entire race because I had nearly a full tank um, when I started, and I had to put in another 6.5 liters to make it to the end after I filled up at pit one. Um, so yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough one. It's a grueling little track, and in the GDPs, it really works your arms, and it takes all the concentration that you have to make it around the corners. The hairpin is the trickiest one for me. It's just the left front just wants to lock every single lap. Every single time I get into the braking zone, the left front wants to lock.
Yeah, it is a hard one because where that braking point is through the right hand kink, you can't get that initial braking load, and you have to be a little bit gentle there, and then you're
Yeah.
trying to scrub all the speed off in the trail brake as you get into the apex, which, as you say, you end up locking that front left.
Yeah, I even tried to just kind of start it and think to myself, okay, cool, maybe I must just try and brake 5 to 10 meters earlier into the corner and see if I can trail brake it right to the
Race control
apex
scoring has ended.
without locking the front. It worked out a good couple of times, and then there was a good couple of times that it didn't work.
Yeah, so what did you make of that late safety car as well? Obviously closed things up for you to have that better with Stefan, but was it maybe too late? Was it something that added to the racing, or what did you think?
Oh, definitely added to the racing. I really did enjoy it. I didn't actually check the time. I didn't know how much time was remaining until I went across the line and it said final lap. um, so didn't check the time, but I really enjoyed the late call because it did bring the pack nice together, and it made for some good racing. I'm assuming in the GT3 class as well, because I did come across a couple of guys were having some good battles. I feel a bit bad for going into turn one with Chris and Daniel battling together, but it doesn't seem like I affected him at all. Maybe a little bit in the dirty air for him. I felt a bit bad about that. I just there was room, and I checked up the whole last third sector. I checked up because I knew they were battling for position, so I didn't want to disrupt them and do a dive bomb. So I thought I'd do it on the main straight, and there, as I go through turn two, I see there goes Chris off.
Yeah, I think that was just his own mistake from what we saw. Um, yeah. Anyway, well done on P2 tonight. Obviously, that was pretty much a given from the start of the race with
Yeah,
with Andy
unfortunately, I
Fuller's
think
pace.
I think myself and Andrew would have had a really good race because we were so close on times in practice and qualifying, so would have been a good one. But I think he unfortunately disconnected.
Yeah, he looked like he disconnected just at the end of qualifying there. We were waiting for him to take the grid and didn't take the grid, and we thought maybe starting from pit lane, but he didn't come out of there either. So obviously, don't know, maybe he wasn't enjoying it on this track and decided he didn't want to stick around for the race, or could have had something come up where he couldn't stick around for the race. But anyway, you got a P2, they all count. Any sponsors you want to shout out tonight?
Just the boys over at ANZ CRL for sure, and yeah, the boys at MRP for supporting this HPR series. Definitely to them. I had a good run on their simulator over at Porsche, so yeah, big up to the boys at MRP as well.
Alright, cheers, Nico.
Awesome, thanks, boys.
Awesome. And I think we might wrap it up there. I think Corey has disappeared. Slightly, obviously, thanks for him to helping out tonight in commentary. And of course, a big thanks to MRP, Napa, and MRX being this week's sponsors. And of course, Movember, if you do want to donate, we've got the CAT option in. Check out either the SuperCars NZ Facebook page or it is in the chat there. I think Corey put it in there, and of course, Corey's Movember donations page. That was us at Suzuka. I think next week in the GT3s we are off to Road America, but don't quote me on that. And Shane, you might know where we're off to in the V8s on Tuesday.
Uh, I did know, and it's not occurring to me off the top of my head, but I have just found that information, and it's an exciting one to go to. A fan favourite of many, it's Spa.
Ooh, interesting track, certainly in those cars. And that was, I think, going to wrap us up from Suzuka Enduro round here. And I can't remember the closing sequence, so that might be on you.
Well, you've more or less covered everything off, but thanks everybody at home for tuning in as well, and we will see you next time.